Namaste and greetings. I, Ishika Chaudhary, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान, नई दिल्ली, invites you to a condolence meeting in memoriam of Professor Rokkam Radhakrishna, an eminent economist and academician of international repute. As a part of the series, #IMPRI Center for Human Dignity and Development. As moderators, we have Professor Swarna S. Vippa. She is Consultant, Institute for Development Studies, Andhra Pradesh, and Visiting Professor at Madras School of Economics. And Dr. G. Sridevi. She is Associate Professor at School of Economics in University of Hyderabad. As speakers, we have Professor S. Mahendra Dev, Director of Indira Gandhi Institute for Development Research, Professor K. Krishna, former director, Delhi School of Economics, Dr. D. Subbarao, former governor of Reserve Bank of India, Professor R. S. Deshpande, visiting professor at Institute for Social and Economic Change, Bengaluru, Professor S. Galab, Director, Institute for Development Studies, Andhra Pradesh, former director at Center for Economic and Social Studies, Hyderabad. Professor E. Repute, Director at Center for Economic and Social Studies, Hyderabad. Professor R. V. Ramanamurthy, Dean at School of Economics, University of Hyderabad. Professor C. Ravi, former professor at Center for Economic and Social Studies, Hyderabad. Consultant at Institute for Development Studies, Andhra Pradesh. Professor P. Purdhivakkar Reddy, former professor at Center for Economic and Social Studies, Hyderabad, and consultant at Institute for Development Studies, Andhra Pradesh. I welcome all the speakers. There are also family members of Professor Rokkam Radhakrishna, Rokkam Akhila, and Rokkam Vamshi. We welcome you. We all look forward to learning from the esteemed gathering. Now I hand over the proceedings to Sridevi ma'am. Thank you.
A very good evening to all of you. Professor Radhakrishna was known both nationally and internationally for his immense contributions to the literature and policy in the areas of development economics, welfare analysis, and applied econometrics. And Professor Radhakrishna is a great researcher and respected teacher, able academic administrator, and notable institution builder. Professor Radhakrishna postgraduated in economics and statistics from Andhra University as a gold medalist, went on to do his PhD in economics from Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, Pune University, under Professor P.N. Mathur on complete demand systems. As a young scholar, when no computers existed, he had provided estimates of demand elasticities for various agricultural commodities for the Planning Commission. During 1968-72, he was the earliest of the econometricians who used sophisticated statistical techniques to make demand projections for the country. After an early stint at Marathwada University as a lecturer, he later joined Sardar Patel Institute of Social Economic Research during 1973-80 as Associate Fellow. During this time, he became a visiting fellow at University College of Wales, UK, 76-77. In 1980, he joined the Department of Economics, University of Hyderabad. On the invitation of the Vice Chancellor, he was the first professor and the founding head of the Department of Economics, which has become a school now. He was instrumental in framing the course structure by assigning it an eminent economist like Krishna Bharadwaj. He was the most popular, kind, and approachable teacher for students. Professor Radhakrishna has guided 25 doctoral students and 10 MPhil students to his credit. His initial work on complete demand systems, along with Professor K. Murthy, was a pioneering work in applied econometrics in early 1970s. The consumption functional forms using Divisa index, but later used in estimating production function in total factor productivity studies. His critique of Sixth Plan in 1984 attracted a lot of attention, where he argued about the reducing effectiveness of planning in reducing poverty and inequality. He favored the direct poverty, anti-poverty programs and employment programs in particular. His familiarity with consumption studies made him a natural expert on poverty. He was soon made a member of all the 3 consecutive expert committees on poverty headed by Y.K. Alag, Lakadwala, and Suresh Tendulkar. He was also an advisor in committee headed by Rangarajan subsequently. In the times of economic liberalization, he did not lose sight of the subsequently implications for the marginalized sections. He highlighted the need to focus on food security, nutritional security, health, and education status of the poor. He led a number of institutions in their formative years. He was earlier director of the CESS from 1985 to 1994 and took over as its chairman in July 2013. He continued in the position till date he was. He was also chairman, Commission on Inclusive and Sustainable Agriculture Development of Andhra Pradesh during 2015-16, Chairman, National Statistical Commission, Government of India during 2009 and 12, Director, Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research 2001 to 2007. And he's also Vice Chancellor to one of the famous and the old university of Andhra Pradesh, Andhra University during 1998 to 2001, 1998 to 2001. And he's a member secretary, Indian Council for Scientific and Social Research during 1994 to 97. During his long tenure as a director of CESS, the institute was recognized by the ISEC as a center of excellence in social sciences. As the director of IGIDR, he introduced several innovative programs, including well-recognized Masters in Economics, a unique international collaborative doctoral program in law and economics, international collaborative programs in Asian studies, and also strengthened the institute's social policy research program. Professor Radhakrishna has been involved in advising and assisting several policy-making bodies. During his tenure as chairman of National Statistical Commission, he and his colleagues finalized the National Policy and Official Statistics Draft Bill on National Statistical Commission, Code of Statistical Practices, and formulated guidelines for outsourcing statistical activities. Professor Radhakrishna also chaired a number of official committees of national significance, of them the expert group on farmers' indebtedness during 2006 and 7, and committee on credit-related issues under SGSY during 2008 and 9. Our well-known fellow, the latest recommendations, Government of India established the National Rural Livelihood Mission in 2011. He served as an expert in numerous international organizations such as FAO, UNDP, Asian Development Bank, and World Bank. He had a close association with various professional associations over 5 decades, and he has become president for all of them, which are Indian Economic Association, the Indian Econometric Society, Indian Society of Labor Economics, Indian Society of Agriculture Marketing, Association of Asian Social Science Research Councils. He served an editorial board of several peer-reviewed academic journals, including Journal of Quantitative Economics, Asia Pacific Journal of the Rural Development, Journal of Asian Economics, and IASSI Quarterly. He has published several books, monographs in the areas of consumer demand, food security, labor and poverty studies, and has contributed to reputed national and international journals. He has published over 100 research papers in his long career, spanning over half a decade in national and international journals, which includes Econometrica, Developing Economics, Indian Journal of Quantitative Economics, Indian Economic Journal, Economic and Political Weekly, Economic and Political Weekly, Indian Economic Review, Indian Journal of Labor Economics, Indian Journal of Human Development, IASSI Quarterly. He edited and written books over 20, and some prominent ones being India's Public Distribution System, a National and International Perspective in 1998, Empowering Rural Labor in 1998, India Development Report in 2008, Handbook of Poverty in India, Policy Perspective, 2005, published by the Oxford University Press. His complete works are brought as a compendium of 5 volumes as essays in consumer behavior, food security, poverty and well-being, nutrition, inflation, and growth, published by Academic Foundation in 2019, which was released on the occasion of his 75th birthday. In recognition of his significant academic contributions, he was V.K.R.V. Rao Prize in Economics in 1985 and Telugu Atma Gaurava Puraskaram for his eminence in social sciences by Government of Andhra Pradesh in 1998. He was Jawaharlal Nehru National Fellow, ISEC, during 2009-11. I'm privileged to get associated for my academic endeavors with Professor Radhakrishna. The demise of Professor Radhakrishna is a great loss to the academic world. He is a rare genius with enormous energy to read, analyze, and he's mostly concerned with the social problems. And he was the one who helped many policy makers to focus on the marginalized groups. So may his soul rest in peace, and may his research continues through the next generation people also. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridevi, for giving the introduction to Professor Radhakrishna. I thank IMPRI for giving me an opportunity to talk about an eminent person like Professor Radhakrishna. Most of you I know Professor Radhakrishna much better than me, and all of you know about his academic contributions and his achievements. Radhakrishna has been the chairman of CESS as well as Institute of Developmental Studies, Andhra Pradesh. And I had the good fortune of working in these institutions for the past 6 years. I was actually shocked and overwhelmed with grief and had a feeling of loss when I heard about his unexpected sad demise on 28th of January. All of us at IDS I've been interacting with him regularly, and it came as a shock to all of us. Professor Radhakrishna was a widely recognized economist and highly respected head of the institution and an institutional builder. He was a great quantitative applied economist. Professor Radhakrishna believed in scientific and statistical rigor in research. And he believed that transparency in data collection is very important. He observed in his inaugural address to the 15th Commonwealth Statistical Conference held on February 2011, I quote, "The trust in official statistics depends upon the freedom enjoyed by the official agencies from the government as much as the scientific principles and professional ethics adhered to by the official agencies in the collection, analysis, and dissemination of statistics. All these considerations make official statistics a public good," unquote. True to what he said, he wanted researchers and project staff to pay attention to the scientific rigor in sampling design and reliability of data collection. He once told me that DLHS data is believed to be less reliable than the NFHS data, though DLHS sample at the district level was much bigger than that of the NFHS sample due to the negligence in the collection of the DLHS data. So he extensively applied econometrics to the secondary data. He also encouraged researchers to collect primary data. He believed that field visits and primary data give a feel of the ground realities to the researcher. He believed in both macro data and micro data analysis. He believed that daily field visit reports and ethnographic studies are as important as that of the secondary data analysis. He encouraged me to go to the field and collect data. Before I undertook my data collection for the school project, he made me consult experts in sampling and experts in school schedule designing. His published work, as Professor Sridevi has already mentioned, is put together as 5 volumes by the Academic Foundation in 2019, reflects his thinking, his methods, his techniques of data analysis, and his policy recommendations in various contexts. These essays are valuable for future researchers who want to understand the chronology of development. I found some of his lectures and articles very useful for my teaching at MSc. I want to be brief because there are a lot of other people who want to talk about Professor Radhakrishna. And Professor Radhakrishna was a great scholar, and the country has lost an eminent personality. The economics community also has lost a great personality. I now invite Professor S. Mahendra Dev to speak about Professor Radhakrishna. Professor Mahendra Dev.
Yeah, thank you. Professor K. Krishna, Dr. Subbarao, and other distinguished speakers. Director of the Institute, IMPRI, Dr. Arjun Kumar, Professor Radhakrishna's family members, 2 moderators, Professor Vepa, Dr. Sridevi, and friends. Thank you for inviting me for this meeting. So I had known Professor Radhakrishna since the late 1970s, when I started my research work at the Delhi School of Economics. I had correspondence with him at that time. Since then, I've been in touch with him and discussed on various research issues on social sciences. So when I was at CESS earlier and IGIDR now, I consulted him on several issues. In the last 20 years, his advice on administration also was very useful for me. One could learn from him how to convey difficult decisions without hurting someone. So we always remember him for his significant contributions to research, institutional building, and to the policy. So therefore, his contributions to the country can be divided into 3 parts. First, Professor Radhakrishna as a researcher and a teacher. He liked, as mentioned earlier, field work in villages and urban areas, apart from using secondary sources. As Professor Y.K. Alag mentioned in one of the meetings, his field study on prohibition in Gujarat was one such example. He was comfortable with both econometrics and also discussing issues on political economy and sociological issues. So in his work, he also gave importance to institutions. For example, in agriculture, he advocated institutions for water management, marketing, etc. His earlier work, we all know, on consumer demand and demand systems was very useful for many researchers. In fact, I keep saying Nobel Prize economists like Angus Deaton and others appreciated his work. As I mentioned recently, he has done pioneering work in the areas of growth, poverty, malnutrition, inequality, food security, PDS, agriculture, etc. In fact, in my last conversation with him also was on increasing inequality. He was worried about the increasing inequality in India. In fact, he edited a special issue of the Indian Journal of Human Development on inequality. On poverty estimates, he made some innovations. For example, he got estimates at district level by matching state and central samples, because that time only at the state level we could compute. He also estimated multidimensional poverty. So personally, I also benefited from his research as I work in these areas. Second one is Professor Radhakrishna's contributions to institutions. His contribution to Sardar Patel Institute, CESS, IGIDR, MIDS, Andhra University, ICSR, and recently, of course, IDS AP are well known. He was fond of talking on his experiences at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics at Pune, particularly on his supervisor, Dr. Mathur, and Professor D.R. Gadgil, and also his experiences at Sardar Patel Institute. I don't have to mention here his contribution to CESS as director in the initial years. About IGIDR, as mentioned earlier, he made some innovations like introducing 2 years master's degree MSc in economics, and also law and economics was also introduced. So our 2-year master's degree is attracting students all over India. As Mumbai is financial capital, many of our IGIDR students join corporate jobs. Professor Radhakrishna encouraged some of the students to join academics as it gives more freedom and satisfaction. So those who joined academics, some of our students don't have any regrets. Third one is Professor Radhakrishna's contributions to policy as chairman and member of several committees. He has contributed to the improvement of data quality as chairman of the National Statistical Commission. The commission has part-time members. He wanted a full-time members, the National Statistical Commission. He was member of most of the expert committees, as mentioned earlier, on poverty, Alag, Lakdawala, Tendulkar committees. He also contributed to the policy at state level. For example, his committee on Andhra Pradesh sustainable agriculture gave a very good recommendations on several aspects on growth, equity, and sustainability in agriculture of Andhra Pradesh. He was also happy about the developments in chemical-free natural farming in Andhra Pradesh. So lastly, as a person, Professor Radhakrishna was a wonderful human being. He was always helpful, particularly to younger scholars. He had a concern for the poor and vulnerable groups. So we lost a great social scientist, great socially concerned economist. We'll miss him. So my condolences to his family. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Mahendra Dev. Now I invite Professor K. Krishna to say a few words about Professor Radhakrishna. Over to Professor K. Krishna. Sir, can you hear me?
So please unmute yourself.
Professor K. Krishna?
So please
Professor K. Krishna, can you please hear?
yes, so you'll have to unmute on bottom left, unmute button.
Sir, you have to unmute. We're not able to hear you.
Bottom left, where there is mic, there is unmute button.
Send a mail or something. I think you should send a mail to him.
Okay, I will do that. Can you move to next?
Can I move to the next person? I now request Dr. D.V. Subbarao, former Governor of Reserve Bank of India, to say a few words. Sir, can you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Radhakrishna's passing came as a surprise to me because I'd always remembered him as a healthy, energetic person. I didn't know that he was so close to his end. I'd known Dr. Radhakrishna for 40 years. First, when he joined the Central University in the early 80s, I'd just come to Hyderabad on posting, and someone told me that if you want to pursue economics, you must go and meet Dr. Radhakrishna. I'd gone to the US to MIT for studying. I picked up an MS degree, but I could not complete my PhD, and I used to be interested at that time in econometrics. So they said, you must meet this one person, Professor Radhakrishna. So I went and met him in the Central University, and I was, of course, impressed by his quest for scholarship. Subsequently, we had interaction and association in virtually every institution that he handled. For example, he was director CESS in the 90s when I was finance secretary here, and I happened to be on the executive committee of CESS. Then he became vice chancellor of Andhra University. Again, I was on the executive committee of Andhra University as finance secretary of Andhra Pradesh. And then when I was governor of RBI, he was chairman of the National Statistics Commission, and we had invited him to come and give a talk on the Statistics Day, I recall perhaps in 2011. And we invited not only RBI economists and professionals, but people from all over Mumbai, from the universities, think tanks, financial sector, and this talk was very well appreciated. He returned the favor to me when I had demitted office and came back to Hyderabad in 2014. He invited me to come and give a talk at CESS on my experiences as the governor. In fact, that talk I gave at CESS was the foundation for the book that I wrote subsequently on my experiences as the governor. And most recently, about 6 months ago, I was invited to become a member of the executive committee of this new institution that's set up in Andhra Pradesh, IDSAP. I'd actually decided not to accept membership of any board or any committee. I did not want any affiliation. I just wanted to be independent. But I made an exception, or I was asked to make an exception for IDSAP. And the only reason I joined the executive committee of IDSAP was because Professor Radhakrishna was the chairman and was associated with that institution. As I look back on my association with Professor Radhakrishna, I remember him for many things. First of all, at a very personal level, I remember him for encouraging me to do my PhD. As I told you, when I first met him in CESS, almost the first thing he told me was that I must register for a PhD. I neglected doing that. About 10 years later, I did register in Andhra University, and subsequently, when I went as executive committee member, he said, "You've not completed your PhD yet." So I had not. I was embarrassed about it, and he continued to exhort me to do my PhD. And the other day, I was going through my own papers, my PhD certificate was actually signed by Professor Radhakrishna. So at a very personal level, I remember him for my PhD. I also remember him for his passion for scholarship. Professor Mahendra Dev, Professor Swarna, Professor Sridevi all spoke about his diverse scholarship, poverty, welfare analysis, applied econometrics, food security, whatever. And the way he approached every subject that he researched on. What also attracted me about Professor Radhakrishna was his childlike curiosity. As all of us know, he'd become one of the foremost economists in India, if not the foremost economist. But even then, he had the same enthusiasm as a fresh PhD student, which is remarkable. And I think Professor Radhakrishna should be remembered for the influence he had on policy. As John Maynard Keynes said, and I quote Keynes now, Keynes said, the ideas of economists and political philosophers, both when they're right and when they're wrong, are more powerful than is commonly understood. Indeed, the world is ruled by little else. Practical men who believe themselves to be quite exempt from any intellectual influence are usually slaves of some economist. This is indeed true of Professor Radhakrishna. As Professor Swarna Weber just mentioned, and as all of you know, Professor Radhakrishna's research was influential, not only because of his sharp mind, but because of the emphasis he placed on understanding local situation and collecting primary data. And I think that's what distinguished him from several other economists of his generation. Professor Radhakrishna should also be remembered and will always be remembered for the institutions that he built. When I was governor of RBI, indeed, when I was finance secretary, but the government of India, but subsequently when I was governor, whenever I met Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was prime minister at that time, he would say, what is the research IGIDR is doing? And every time he asked that question, I used to be embarrassed because as governor, there were so many things on my mind that it never occurred to me to check what research IGIDR is doing. So subsequently, I knew that the prime minister will ask me about it, and I used to make it a point to ask Professor Mahendra Dev every time before I went to meet the PM about what research IGIDR was doing. And the constant remark Dr. Manmohan Singh used to make when I mentioned about the research of IGIDR is that Professor Radhakrishna and Professor Mahendra Dev have given a definite orientation to research at IGIDR. So we will always remember him as an institution builder. And finally, we will remember Professor Radhakrishna as an inspiration. I'll tell you why. If you look at the life and work of Professor Radhakrishna, he had no political backing, he had no social backing, he had no caste backing, he wasn't a powerful speaker. He rose to eminence and established a reputation by his sheer scholarship. So the millions of students around the country, he should be an inspiration as an illustration that in this country, it's possible for a plain, simple man to come up and earn a reputation by sheer strength of professional integrity and scholarship. I think that's what I will remember Professor Radhakrishna as, and that's what his legacy will be to millions of students in this generation and in subsequent generations. So I pray that his soul rests in peace, and I want to acknowledge once again the enormous contribution Professor Radhakrishna has made to academia and to policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. D.V. Subbarao. Now, I invite Professor K. Krishna.
Yes.
To say
I am very much here, but I think I have tried to unmute, but still it is not.
No, you are audible now.
Okay, please go ahead.
You're audible. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am grateful to the organizers of this condolence meeting for asking me to speak on Professor Radhakrishna for a few minutes. Of course, I had known him for more than 5 decades. I think soon after he completed his PhD and joined Hyderabad University as the founder, chairman of the department. Since those days, I have interacted with him, benefited a lot from my association with him. And what I find in him is he is very thorough in whatever he does, and he doesn't do econometric work. He did a lot of econometric work, but he doesn't does meaningful econometric work. Many people, econometrics is very widely practiced in the country, but he really did something very relevant, socially relevant research. And all his work, I think, has been recently in 2019, has brought out in 5 volumes by Academic Foundation, I think maybe in collaboration with CESS. The first volume is on Indian economy, SS on Indian economy. Second is on agriculture, food security and nutrition. Third is on poverty, inequality and welfare. Fourth is on studies on consumer behavior. In fact, it is in this context I approached him in 1990s to contribute a chapter to a volume which I was editing on applied econometric applications in India. He readily agreed, and with the help of K and Murthy, they produced an excellent chapter, very, very detailed. I think generations of students will find useful material in that volume on studies and consumer behavior. And the 5th volume is on inflation and macro models. Here also uses econometrics, but as I said, uses econometrics where it is meaningful and helpful, because many econometric studies are just applies the statistical techniques to some available data, but that is not his approach. And his work, I think, emphasized inclusive growth. I think that is the inclusive growth and development. That is, I think, something very distinctive and very nice of him, that poverty and inequality, welfare, on this he wrote very extensively. I think I must say his first good paper got published at the age of 26. He published a paper in Metro Economica, and that is very, very. He was quite precocious, I must say, in terms of his initiation to econometrics. And of course, he is not at all interested in occupying high positions. I had to persuade him to become the president of the Indian Econometric Society, but he was elected unanimously, and he did a very good job. Also, I must say, as chairman National Statistical Commission, he did very useful work in terms of data quality. Although he did not get much cooperation from the statistical agencies, I think he pursued that idea, because National Statistical Commission was not a statutory body. So therefore, government officials don't take it very seriously. But he insisted that I think even now it is not on sound footing, the National Statistical Commission. He was the second chairman of the National Statistical Commission after Suresh Tendulkar. And Suresh Tendulkar and Radhakrishna, along with Raghav, were members of the Committee on Poverty, Tendulkar Committee on Poverty. And of course, the findings of that committee I think, are still being implemented. It is that methodology which is being implemented, and this was, I think, much credit goes to the members of the committee, including Suresh Tendulkar and Radhakrishna. And I think his idea of Institute of Development Studies for Andhra Pradesh, I think, is very, very thoughtful, and he has got it registered, and he has taken the help of Professor Galab as chairman. I think that is also a very good thing. Only it is very sad that before the institute really took off, he passed away. I think the glory, his glory has not been felt in IDS yet. He was chairman of Madras Institute of Development Studies before me, and for 5 years he did excellent work. MIDS, he brought financially, it has became sound and stability. And next he has taken over his mother institution, so to say, CESS. He was still the chairman of CESS at the time of his death, and CESS owes a lot to his imagination and vision. Also, I think I must also just refer to my association with his family. His elder sister is a zoologist in Andhra University. She is still active, and she was a mentor for my wife when my wife was doing zoology in Andhra University in late 1950s. So that kind of a link is there between us. I must say, we all miss him very much for his great contributions in economics. He's one of the, as Dr. Subbarao mentioned, is one of the foremost economists in India, and having imbibed the qualities of V.R. Gadgil, Professor Sarveswar Rao of Andhra University. I think he was a student of Professor Sarveswar Rao, and Professor Sarveswar Rao was very proud of him. I know. I think I convey my sincere and heartfelt condolences to Vamsi and Akhila. I think they really lost both parents within a few years, 5 years. Very sad. My condolences to them, and particularly Dr. Radhakrishna's somewhat, I must say, it is untimely. He was very active. He had many more years of active guidance and scholarship, but we all will miss it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Krishna. Now I request Professor R.S. Deshpande to say a few words. Professor Deshpande.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me among the stalwarts who have gathered here and who have known Professor Radhakrishna quite in depth. I have a very distinct relationship with Professor Radhakrishna. He was my sculptor, I should say, because the initial strokes on a sculpture are the important things to build a personality. Professor Radhakrishna joined Aurangabad University, and that was July, somewhere early 70s, when first time science students were allowed to do in economics, post-graduation in economics. Professor Radhakrishna was teaching mathematical economics and econometrics, and he used to take extra classes in order to teach those who have not had mathematics earlier. Those of us who had BSc mathematics and physics, we used to go a little ahead, but then he will pull us down. He will say that, understand, mathematics is not the end in all. the first stroke on the sculpture. If you give some formulae, if you give some calculations, that is not research. You have to touch the society. And that is from there it began. So he was my guru. He was my guru for post-graduation. There were, I don't think many of the people who have gone at all India level, but then I was thrown at all India level because I was thrown out of my house. And Professor Radhakrishna had a special liking for me because I was more or less on the roads. After my MA, I thought that I must do research with Professor Radhakrishna. I went to Sardar Patel Institute where he had left Aurangabad University and then he had joined Sardar Patel Institute. I went to Sardar Patel Institute. Again, I met a guru. He said that, look here, and very rarely, there are very few people who call me by my first name. He said that we don't have fellowships, but you can stay in my house and you can take tuitions, you can register for your PhD. By the time the university allows Sardar Patel Institute to register the PhD students, I was roofless and I was so shaky that I didn't have even more than 300 rupees with me for the entire future. I came back, I joined Aurangabad only. I got the fellowship, and then the thesis which I wanted to do, the initiation was that by Professor Radhakrishna, because Professor Nadkarni was calculating something and there was only one facet machine on which Professor Radhakrishna taught me how to calculate a single variable equation, the linear expenditure system. Calculating on facet machine a linear expenditure system equation by equation was something, a very tedious job, and night up to 11:30, 12 o'clock, I used to work. And once in a while, he was staying in the staff quarters. Once in a while, he will come at 9:30, 10 o'clock, go home. And I didn't have home. Many times I used to sleep in the university. He had, from then onwards, this guru held my hand and continued with me. He was the referee of my thesis. He wrote a report and the report was excellent. The other referee who had come for the Viva was G. Parsarthi. And it was very interesting that Professor Parsarthi started asking Revati senior, Revati's guru. Professor Parsarthi started asking a few questions, and after that, when he came to know about my soiling of the hands with the data, he was very happy. Professor Radhakrishna's report was exemplary on my thesis, and he encouraged me. He used to tell about Professor Mathur, how Professor Mathur used to teach, how Professor Mathur used to guide, hold hands of the students. Professor Radhakrishna was a great researcher. In fact, any time he had time, he had sent me his papers and I had to talk to him or write to him. Never I had any severe comments, but many times it was only saying that, sir, these equations or this thing can be in the annexure. He had great faith because he was a researcher of the ground. So when he was a member of the chairman of the statistical commission, he made me to work on one component on agriculture statistics. He appreciated it. It was about the land use data. He appreciated it, and possibly afterwards, maybe the government did not like it or whatever it is. It did not come in till the time we got the GPS system, GIS system and satellites. He was a motivator. Motivator in the sense that anything I do, he had always come, held my hand. I had started the experiment of Ambedkar School of Economics. This experiment was with the support of government because I could argue with the government that we need to do it. And it was fortunate that that was the election year and the government wanted to do something for Dr. Ambedkar's name. So the Dr. Ambedkar School of Economics was started, and I could negotiate the grant of about 300 crores from government of Karnataka. I took Professor Radhakrishna to our rented building. He gave a lecture to the graduate students and spent about 2 hours with the students when he had visited Bengaluru. He was a motivator and he said, look here, it's not simply mathematics, statistics, but teach them law, teach them constitution, teach them how the village studies have to be done, how village has to be understood. And that is how he was a motivator. He was something like elder in the family, because whenever he visited Bangalore and whenever he visited Pune, when I was at Gokhale Institute, he used to come home, have his dinner with us, bless us. That is what he was a family. I knew his family very well. Of course, I don't know if Vamshi or Akila remember my visit to their house, but I had visited their house several times in Hyderabad, in Delhi, in Ahmedabad. He was elder in the family and a family person. He was an institution builder. Certainly, many people have said that he was an institution builder. I'm not referring to institutions in the sense IGIDR, CESS. I'm not referring to those institutions. He had built institutions like me, persons who can devote their time for others and who can give maximum to the others. So when I evaluate any PhD thesis, and if the person has put only the statistical tables, the person will have it from me. And this happened many times. Like the printout of the computers were presented by a student of a very reputed university. And I had to say that please revise it fully. Bring down the problem that is internal. And that was what Professor Radhakrishna taught us. A week before his death, I had called Professor Galab for some reason. And I had asked him some request, can you do this particular thing? I waited and then I called Professor Radhakrishna. He had just come back from the hospital. He said, oh, the content page, I will send it to you. And within, I think, a day, by evening, I got the content page photocopies to my email. At that time, he told me that Ram, I'm having terribly bad health. Therefore, I'm not able to speak to you. It was just a week before his demise, and that was shocking. He was a guru, a researcher, a motivator, an institution builder, and above all, a thorough gentleman, a person to be remembered. I convey my deep condolences to Vamshi and Akila. Both of them, I have seen them. They may not remember, but they may remember my beard, because not many bearded people used to drop in Professor Radhakrishna's place. I convey my deep condolences to the family and wish that we will have many, many Radhakrishnas from his institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Deshpande. Now I invite Professor Galab to speak a few words. Sir, Professor Galab.
Please unmute yourself, sir.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. My association with Professor Radhakrishna started since 1985. So even though it is a reputation, because as mentioned by my speakers before me, I would like to read out what I felt about Professor Radhakrishna. And I want to mention very clearly that I am one case study how Radhakrishna has shaped up the career of a scholar who is interested in research. So I read out and I narrate the experiences event by event, which are such important events, how he has molded me to become a good researcher. Professor Radhakrishna was an inspiring scholar, popular teacher, and able academic institutions builder and successful academic administrator. He made pioneering contribution to enrich understanding on poverty, nutrition, inequality, food security, economic growth, and rural development. His contributions in the field of applied econometric modeling was well received by the academic world and policy makers. He is the first development economist who estimated poverty at the district level in the country. He is the first in marrying NSS and NFHS data sources to explore multiple deprivations and chronic poverty analysis. He is equally strong in designing studies based on secondary data as well as survey-based primary data. The students trained by him are well placed in academics in India and abroad. He has a large number of associates who work with him. He was favorite of interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. He was also a promoter of action-oriented research because we were doing way back in 80s, we were doing a research project on Singur because Singur project is irrigate drinking water project to bring the drinking water to Twin Cities. A dam has been constructed in Singur of Medak district. At that time, we have undertaken the resettlement rehabilitation evaluation. In that, we were asked to implement the programs for economic rehabilitation of the project displaced persons. So we have taken the permission from Prof Radhakrishna. He was director at the time and able to implement the program just like in NGOs and government department. It is a very, very remarkable kind of experience for us, which has given us knowledge to how to negotiate with the people, how to talk with the people, how to plan for the people's livelihoods. It's a great experience for us. That kind of opportunity has been provided by Prof Radhakrishna to me. Researchers used to derive a lot of insights from his presentation in the seminars, conferences, and workshops. He used to conduct research relating to the contemporary debates at national and international level. He used to encourage young scholars and his research associates to work on contemporary issues of the society. He has encouraged networking mode of research. Hence, he had large number of students and scholars around him. He used to enjoy in sharing his ideas, views, and insights with all the scholars around. He makes zeros as heroes. This is the unique academic art of Professor Radhakrishna Garu. He served as a director for 3 terms CESS. He nurtured the institution for almost a decade. He also joined before the director. He has associated with CESS. He laid academic foundation during his tenure. He has resigned from the University of Hyderabad and joined CESS, sacrificing all the benefits that might have occurred in the central university system. He identified scholars and brought them on deputation to strengthen the faculty of CESS. He introduced an innovative research program to provide opportunity to those who wanted to pursue MPhil and PhD, but could not do it due to lack of opportunities, suitable opportunities for them. The research program offered by CESS under the leadership of Professor Radhakrishna Garu opened the windows of opportunity to fulfill their aspirations of pursuing MPhil and PhD. Of course, as Professor Mahendra Dev mentioned, he has also made innovations in IGIDR. And there was his contribution. We learned, our team has learned, because I all the time work with the team as an individual scholar. Our team has got benefit when we were struggling with the issue of how to capture the externalities in the double difference method. He has given us his formulas to do it, and we successfully, that was accepted by the sponsors, World Bank. So it is a great opportunity for us to work with him, to learn many things. And I have also got the opportunities of going around the countries abroad and exposed to many institutions where I have gained many kinds of insights and learned the art of doing research from these exposures. Radhakrishna is my fatherly figure, and he shaped up my academic career and also non-academic career. He has taken me a lot. He has taken me, and he also supported when I was in troubles in my personal life. He supported me a lot. So I owe great. I am highly thankful to you for giving me this opportunity to convey my condolences to the family members and to Professor Radhakrishna. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Galab. And now I invite Professor E. Revati to say a few words.
Thank you, Professor Swarna. I thank the organizers from IMPRI for giving me this opportunity to share memories of Professor Radhakrishna with a group of scholars, eminent group of scholars over here and family members of Sir. We all know that Professor Radhakrishna was an intellectual par excellence, and he was versatile in economic theory and also a great econometrician. And he contributed richly to the areas of agriculture, employment, rural development, food security, poverty, well-being. And in recent times, he was working on inclusive studies. He was interested in economic history and institutions, how institutions shaped the economics of countries and such issues. He had a larger perspective of society and was always for the larger good of the people. He inculcated in the people who worked with him to strive for academic excellence and with discipline and hard work. As an administrator, he had vast experience and shared his experience for building institutions. He himself, I think, visited a number of institutions both in India and abroad, and knew how institutions have been, over a period of time, have been crafted, have been developed. And every time that we had a discussion, I think mostly Professor Galab, myself, were discussing with Professor Radhakrishna about institutional issues and administration issues. He was relating the experiences, his experiences of different institutions, how they have been shaped up and how good practices in those institutions can be emulated for strengthening of the institutions. Like CASA in Amsterdam and the different institutions that he has visited and had experience working with them. And we all know that Professor Radhakrishna has been a pillar behind starting the MPhil and PhD program at CESS. And what started as a refresher course, I think Professor Galab has been relating this in research methodology during a summer, has blown into a full-fledged kind of MPhil and PhD programs there. He roped in the best teachers in the city, teachers from University of Hyderabad, and also other institutions to teach the students for the PhD program, to give the best exposure to the students. And when I think after some period of time, the PhD program affiliated with the B.R. Ambedkar Open University had some troubles. It was dysfunctional for some time, but he was very much interested that it should be revived, because he was always saying that the scholars who did not have an opportunity to pursue PhD with lot of experience in their professions, that would be, they would bring that experience to research, and that would be very useful. And he was always that the former students of the PhD program should be giving their experiences to the current batches, so that it would be a learning to the current batch of students. And when we tried to revive, as we could not revive the part-time program of PhD, but we transformed that into a regular full-time PhD in association or in collaboration with the Telangana University. He encouraged us a lot, and we traveled to the Telangana University, where he also lectured to the students over there, and we signed an MOU there. And also soon after that, we have set up committees to formulate the curriculum for different papers. And of course, the PhD program in development studies that acted as the foundation for the new program, new PhD program. And thus the PhD in development studies at CESS really owes a lot to the intellectual contribution of Professor Radhakrishna. And I learned how to organize things. I was dean of DGS. Actually, the position of dean DGS has been created by Professor Radhakrishna, and how to go about with that, how to organize, and how to involve people who were experts in different areas and to discuss with them and finalize the course content and how to organize the PhD program. And any issue that I went to him, subsequently when I took over as director, after that, I had the great fortune to work with him for 3 years. And I learned a lot in administration. Any small issue that I went to him, he was the mentor, and he has given ready-made solutions to any sort of problem that was there. During the past 3 years being closely associated with Sir, I think I got an opportunity to think how he thinks and how he acts, the way he thinks, the way he does things, and his very thinking. I think that is a great opportunity for me to write. And he was very meticulous while drafting the resolutions, even with a single word, the correct word has to be used. And he was always saying that once we should be double checking it very, very carefully and very meticulously. We were also involving Professor Radhakrishna in every academic event, but he never said no, except in recent times because of his health conditions. But otherwise, he was not refusing to participate in any of the academic events. In one of our projects on fundamental principles and rights at work in cotton communities, he was in the advisory group meeting, and in November when we had the final presentation, the advice he gave was that our findings should benefit to the vulnerable groups. So that was his commitment. I think whatever work that we do and the findings should be for the larger good of the people. As a teacher, he was excellent. His classes, and I also had an opportunity to hear to his lectures in the classroom because we were organizing it for the students. And his contacts were wide and far. And he always tried to involve his contacts and for the benefit of our PhD students. So that way we organized a number of lectures by different distinguished scholars from different countries, and we could learn from that. For Sir, CESS was foremost, and he spent most of his productive time as director and also as chairman. And he knows every inch of CESS, every person of CESS, and he gave the guidance and advice for its development in recent times also. At CESS, really, we are at a loss because he's a founder member and also was at the back of, was advising in every aspect. It also puts us in a larger responsibility to keep up the legacy of Sir, and to keep up the good academic traditions of teaching and learning built so meticulously by him. I thank you for the opportunity given.
Thank you very much, Professor Revati. Now I invite Professor R.V. Ramanamurthy. Is he there?
Yeah.
Please.
Good evening, all. It's my privilege it's a sad privilege. I don't want to say it's a privilege to speak on the obituary of Professor Radhakrishna, which I hate to. I still can't digest the sad fact that he's no more. But we have to reconcile, perhaps, to the eventualities of human life and do our duty. Professor Radhakrishna, I will not repeat what others have already said, and I would throw light on things which perhaps not figured so far. He was one of the builders of economics department in University of Hyderabad when he was at Sardar Patel. The then vice chancellor invited him to come and build the economics program, graduation program in his. And then he personally told us that he was not keen, but his wife insisted that he's not comfortable. She'll come back to a Telugu land, and then Hyderabad would be better. So she pestered him until she accepted. But he came and joined Hyderabad University. And there was no MA program by the time. There was only one MPhil PhD program, and it was still a formative stage. So he had to create the program, and then he invited. This is where he showed his craftsmanship of a philosopher, how to have a program which is a well-rounded program. He was, I mean, it's very surprising that he had the intricate knowledge. I mean, he had the acceptance of the need for all branches, both orthodox and heterodox traditions, empirical as well as theoretical. So theory, tools, and applications. He has laid down this methodology for us to follow, for successive generations to have this focus. So he brought Krishna Bharadwaj and asked her to draft the MA program, and we have this. We had this 12 compulsory programs of which used to have general equilibrium, microeconomics of neoclassical variety. You've got macroeconomics, and he brought post-Keynesian like Sanjay Baru at that time. He was a post-Keynesian. He brought and he made to introduce post-Keynesian economics. At the same time, he himself taught general equilibrium, which was at that time the heart of neoclassical economics, because there were not many who could actually deal with the amount of mathematics at a level which is comfortable and where the students could actually receive. And then he brought Professor Narasimha Reddy and others to teach heterodox. And we, like JNU, had this privilege of having Marxist economics program. It's not simply about capital, but successive theories of Marxist theories of economic crisis and neo-Marxism and so on. He himself was so, you will be surprised to know that later when I joined for PhD with him, he asked when he found that he would quiz everyone about their method of thinking and their framework and their ideologies. So he thoroughly he interrogates to know what we are first. Then when he knew that I was very impressed with Marxism, then he said, "Have you read Regulation School?" I was totally zapped. No, sir, I have not even heard about it. Then he said, in 93 or 94, he said, "You should read Regulation School." Regulation School is actually what I could read maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and now I'm reading seriously. And of course, I didn't get opportunity to read it because I got into teaching so many other things. But that remained in my mind. That he reminded me to read regulation theory, which is very much popular in France. And I don't know where he picked up at that time. In 93, when a group of economists who were trying to discuss about economic liberalization organized in IPE, some regulation economists also came at that time. And then he was quite, he was aware about regulation theory at that time. And it was amazing even till today for me that he himself never really totally believed in any paradigm of especially Marxist variety, but he was very aware about it. He knew all corners of it. And then he would, then as a teacher, he was remembered by generations of economic students in HCU. When I joined, he was already left for CESS. He was a legendary figure. Everybody used to say that Professor Radhakrishna used to teach general equilibrium and there was no problem. Because by the time after he left, there were problems about how to teach and so on, that course. And we always had who taught this earlier, Professor Radhakrishna. And he thought there was no problem. People had really received it, etc. So then I heard him when I was doing MPhil. He came to teach as some special lectures he gave. And in 1989 itself, he started teaching us about roles. Because he gave lectures on welfare economics. And by the time Calder criterion was the after Pareto, Calder criterion was the only criterion which was used in welfare economics to compare alternative distributions and policy, these things. But by then he was reading Rawls, and perhaps he already was into inclusive development and how the most marginal sections have to develop in absolute terms. He already got the clarity on it. And then he saw what is happening in the policy. At the same time, he knew what is the philosophical understanding and backing of those policies. So he could actually relate to both. And he was also the first one in Hyderabad University to actually insist to introduce a program in philosophy of science to know what is the philosophical roots of research and how do we justify research as scientific. And he himself practiced the hypothetical-deductive principles of research, that you have to combine theory and empirical. A theory without empirical is rootless, and empirical research without theory is blind. And he thoroughly he believed in this. And personally, I went to CESS in search of a guru who can train me. I didn't have a fellowship, and then I used to go regularly and then meet him in the seminars, and then and when I interacted, and then I could actually talk to him, and he offered me a fellowship, and I told him that I want to work in macroeconomics. At the time, liberalization was undertaken, and then I was a critique of liberalization as coming from certain. He said that, why do you have to work? And you can work on migration, labor migration to work for your MPhil. Then I said, no, I'm not really got a brush with my economic theory, and I don't know whether I'm. Then I don't think labor migration is a very important issue. I told him. He said, no, every issue is equally important. You should know how to handle it. There is no hierarchy in knowledge. He said this. And like that, I mean, today I'll tell my students that there is no hierarchy in the university. In the university, science sections continue to have dominance. They think that they're the ones who are contributing and the rest are not really. And you have such notions of hierarchy of knowledge controlling society. But he was the one who constantly, who battled these, and then he tried to show that if you really follow a rigorous methodology, a rigorous method, I mean, and then you have to establish every field, every aspect, including literature. Everything is important. History, philosophy, sociology, anthropology, or it could be languages. Everything is equally important. So these are the things which he has contributed as an institution builder, and as my PhD guru, I cannot forget his training. That he would actually inspire. He would challenge our ideas. He would rag us on our ideas when they are, especially if we are trying to be flamboyant. He would rag us. He would put counter evidence, and he will throw counter studies, and he will challenge. Have you studied this? Have you studied that? He has made me read more than 60 to 70 authors, and I've not seen another teacher who would give such a devoted time to the students and business scholars, advising them, discussing with them, reading their drafts and commenting. And when they are trying to avoid him for not really doing the homework which he has given, he would call them. He would write in his diary, and he would call them. He would send the assistant and to it. For me, these are immeasurable. I cannot forget these methods of training. I don't know where he got. I don't know whether he got it from his Guru P. and Mathur, but he taught me this. And he would continuously make a challenge. I mean, he depends. He would treat according to personality. If somebody is very weak, he would not challenge them. He would inspire them. But somebody is trying to be very cocky, maybe a person like me, then he would challenge me like anything. He would rag me like anything. It was his method, and he'll take a lot of pride. He'll make it funny. He's a very witty man, extremely witty man, and he would crack jokes on you, especially when if he thinks you are very cocky, etc. And but eventually he's so affectionate. Eventually he'll be very affectionate. He will make sure that he made sure my work was complete. And then I think his blessings made me to stand up as a teacher. And he recognized that he told others, he won't tell anything directly. He told others that okay, he'll fit as a teacher. And that gave me tremendous confidence. And I'm ever grateful. And he was a legendary economist for our generation and for our land. And Akila has come, and then I would recall one incident. I had to rush to Vizag. My cousin died drowning in sea, and I had to step into a train. I didn't have a reservation, and I suddenly saw Radhakrishna along his family was going to Vizag. Then he said, "Why?" The same morning I met him. So I told him, "Sir, my cousin died. I don't have reservation. I'm just going like this." They said, no. He made Akila sleep with him in the same bus, and he gave me his berth. And he can be so, I could never imagine that my director of institute, he's adjusting, he made his daughter vacate her berth, and he gave me the berth. And he was such down-to-earth man, and so affectionate. And I would always, I would say that I would definitely emulate him, and he would be my inspiration. And his commitment was unparalleled to the students and research and institution building. And I'm sure the family of Rokkam family, of whom Akila and Vamchi would be proud of their father, and we are all proud of him. And I hope we'll emulate him, and may his spirit live in all of us in our research. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ramamurthy. Now I request Professor Ravi to say a few words. Professor Ravi.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, IMPRI, for giving me this opportunity. Well, I'm one of those lucky ones who had good fortune to become his student, Radhakrishna's student, and that too by chance. I was actually working at a time in Nizamabad, at that time at Nizamabad, and there was this advertisement for MPhil course, part-time MPhil course in CESS. I applied, got the seat. And I was also lucky to work in the area with him, in the area that is somewhat dear to him, applied consumption analysis. Well, it's not that he shows any partiality. I was also lucky to work with him for quite some time, With all my experience, I see, there's no ending talking about him. You can go on. But there are two striking dimensions of Radhakrishna, which are one, is like, the sage Ramanuja, knowledge for people, taking knowledge to people. What do you find Radhakrishna and his students is not that he shows any bias towards the elite and urban, all this big, but then it looks, he always encourages the so-called Mufassil students from local universities, studying in local languages. I don't know how he convinces them. He gets them and makes a good researcher out of them. That's, amazing. And the second quality which I like is his range of his scholarship. I somehow feel that even now I don't understand. In fact, after his demise, I got about half a dozen calls from CSO, NSSO, all these officials, old, 80 years, 85-year-old. They were recalling the discussions with Professor Radhakrishna and how he, solved their problems. I was amazed. I mean, there's one N.A. Shastri, he's about 85-year-old, he's DG NSSO. He said, "Sir, I just retired. I just came to know, I want to know if this is true." And then he started narrating how he met and all that. It's amazing. I mean, the range of his research, his papers, you look at those 5 volumes, all those papers, from you find, demand models, agriculture, industry, cluster formation, testing homogeneity of clusters, pure statistical work. But one thing you notice, you look at all that entire range of studies, papers, there's one common thread, which is his concern, social concern for poverty, inequality, concern for, what's happening to social groups, occupations. He doesn't say the inequalities are increasing, but he would say why the inequalities are increasing, what is contributing? Is it social inequalities or occupational inequality? That's the kind of consistency in all the papers. One may say, like, well, he's an econometrician, as Professor K. Krishna said, like, he's a econometrician with social purpose. I would take this occasion to mention a few things, I would say, the methodological innovations that have come from Professor Radhakrishna, which were seminal and accepted internationally, and which were actually paved way for the development of, I would say, applied consumption analysis in India. See, those times when he was working on complete demand systems, there were no price indices separately for rural and urban except CPI-AL and CPI-W, outdated, that too at aggregated level. For the first time, he thought of constructing consumer price indices using wholesale prices and NSSO weighting diagram. Imagine collecting wholesale price relatives. They used to publish these price relatives, item-wise, rice, wheat, like about 300 different items they used to write on. No computers. They used to write Kane Murthy, GVS Shah, GVS and Murthy, Shaw, all his chelas. In fact, when he came to Radhakrishna, he showed me that bundle, cyclostyle sheets with items here, months here. They write all that, note down everything, and then average them for each respective NSSO period, use those price indices. That is, amazing feat. And another issue that was blocking the empirical or applied consumption analysis in India was like they were not able to estimate these demand models because they were using mean level data. In fact, attempts were failed when people went to even Oxford. They could not taking this data, they could not get results. Sitting at Sardar Patel Institute, he could do it because he started using cross-section time series data, which shows greater variability. Number 3. At that time, Professor Deshpande also mentioned this LES. Linear expenditure system is criticized because it is linear. It gives linear angel curves and not suitable, etc. Then he devised a method which is like piecewise linear expenditure. You specify a separate model for different income groups. For very poor, moderately poor, all that. It's like approximating a curve with 4 straight lines. And it worked very well. In fact, later we have shown that even if you have a nonlinear demand model, this LES captures the curvature better than any other nonlinear models. Now, once this methodology is widely accepted, almost everyone in India who is working in complete demand system uses the same methodology. Now, once you have this, you have the nutrition demand, deriving the demand for nutrition, applying it for, once his concern is always like looking at the distribution, what is happening at different parts of the income distribution. So, that paper on welfare implications of current wage good, quantifying exactly the welfare impact of serial inflation in the absence of any changes in real income. Now, another innovative method, which I still feel amazing. I mean, all his techniques are very simple. You really don't have to only thing is you have to think like Radhakrishna, simple, without any complication. Another aspect is this estimating chronic poverty. For estimating chronic poverty, one needs panel data. Now, in the absence of the panel data for India, Professor Radhakrishna suggested a method where they matched the NFHS and NSS data to give estimates. The idea is very simple. NFHS gives you data on chronic energy deficiency, a stunting among the children, which are supposed to be, chronic deprivations. Okay. Now, all that you need to do is to identify households which suffer this chronic deprivation and also poor. Then you can assume that they must be chronic poor. So this matching of NSS and NFHS is Professor Radhakrishna way of, and in fact, there were attempts later estimated, and the estimates were very close. When these 5 volumes were planned, and when we were looking at all those things, I found that he has about 4 or 5 papers in regional planning, regional science, cluster formation, how to form homogeneous clusters given the data, and how do you test, a statistical test. He proposed a new statistical test, F-test. Well, one can go on. For example, while looking at these PDS, public distribution system, and the welfare implications, of course, I mean, there are ways of handling it in demand supply, using demand supply models, but then he wanted something very simple. And the method he suggested to adjust the income distribution or the expenditure distribution for the PDS transfers is very simple and elegant. It was appreciated by World Bank, Professor K. Subbarao, and those people were so happy with that. And that continues to be the most cited paper. Well, I will cite only 2 more examples. Like, one is his expertise in official statistics. Okay. Now, when he was chairman, National Statistical Commission, or there was, in general, the central statistical agencies have a very poor opinion on the state agencies. So the attempts to pool the state and central data, I mean, it was initiated long back by Minhas, even earlier days, but it never took off. Professor Radhakrishna, after he became the chairman of National Statistical Commission, he took it up seriously. And what he did was he didn't force it on people. He used to call all these director generals, additional director generals, everyone to one meeting and ask the people from the states like Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, Bihar, even Bihar, and present, how they collect the data, what are the quality checks, how they computerize everything. It's only when the central agencies realize that the states also do better, I mean, do good. In fact, Andhra Pradesh was actually doing much better than the central agencies. Then they took it up very seriously, and now pooling becomes, a routine affair. And I should also mention about NSSO 65th round, where they wanted to change this entire schedule design, making it incomparable to the earlier rounds. Professor Radhakrishna was the chairman of the working group. He insisted that a sudden change is not good. Then we should have two separate samples, independent samples, so that one is backward looking, comparable to the earlier rounds, and another is forward looking, which will be carried further. It's like changing the base of price index. He could convince, argued, and convinced all the members of the group, and that was implemented. And that is actually saved. I mean, if one wants to use a time series data, so you will have a comparability for the entire period. So, I mean, this is sampling where we were doing a project on national farming in ideas, and is solutions to all our sample survey problems. They were, quite innovative. So this can go on. So for me, like all of you, his passing is a great personal loss. In fact, I don't want to invoke God, but then we should muster the courage and strength to do without him, because that's the reality. Thank you so much for offering.
Thank you very much, Professor Ravi. I mean, thank you for all the insights of the techniques that have been used by Professor Radhakrishna. Now I invite Professor Prudvikar Reddy to speak a few words.
Yeah, yeah, madam. Good evening. Let me first express my sincere thanks to the director, IMPRI New Delhi, for giving me this opportunity. Of course, this is a sad occasion, but okay, whatever it is, we are not destined God. And this is the fourth one. Yesterday also I attended one in the Indian Society of Agricultural Marketing. And I was shocked when I came to know the news on 28th January in the early hours when Professor Ramu Naidu informed me about the death, and I was a little shocked and down, and I cross-checked with him, have you seen the body or have you cross-checked? Because I know he was traveling to the outside Visakhapatnam on a field tour, and he said, no, sir. His sister, doctor sister told me, and I saw that. I also saw the message in the Andhra University WhatsApp group. So because why I was, disbelief, because on 27th itself, he called me on certain issues and asked me to be a stubborn one and here 1 year and leave it to another year. Don't carry on all these things and you be firm on your whatever decisions. That was the message he gave me on 27th morning. Hence, I cross-checked with Professor Ramanayadu whether is it true message or something. Have you heard or have you seen something? That was my thing. And we know that Professor Radhakrishna was not keeping well because we saw him several times and also we met him several times in IDSAP. And also every day we used to, exchange the good morning messages early hours through WhatsApp. And most of the time he is the first one and I used to respond little late because I don't want to disturb him in the early hours. But when I saw the message, he already sent a message of good morning and any other some messages from Abdul Kalam and also from some other messages, inspiring messages. So that was a shocking really. And we thought that he will at least give a message and guidance to us for another 1 more year. But God's destiny is different. And I believe the words that the quote, the most mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. So Professor Radhakrishna definitely the inspiring teacher, a visionary and economist, and will always as an inspiration for not only its students, but also to the entire academia. I personally enjoyed the privilege of his human touch in his research, guidance, and leadership. But of course, every student felt like that. That is his greatness. And when this is an occasion to simply recall one incident when he asked me to come back to his house and to sign my research completion thesis certificate. When I thought, oh, after 6 years, I am completing my PhD. With so happiness, I went there and he signed everything and coolly told, Rani, Reddy will be here for lunch. Then I thought he may be giving something homework for another 6 months or 1 year. I was a little, because that was the student days. We want to finish the degree early and get the degree. That was the idea. Then slowly has started. If you do this analysis, the value of your thesis will be much more. Like that, 2 more analysis is suggested. Even without this, you can submit. If at all you want to have a value addition to your thesis, you can do this. It took me another 1.5 months to complete my thesis. Of course, I completed, and he also knows that I will do that because he is to judge the student right from the beginning. And also as a non-economic student, his guidance has shaped my early thinking on econometrics and thoughts that have stimulated my career with confidence and academic strength. Otherwise, I would not have been in the academics, but for his this MPhil and PhD and his guidance as a PhD student. And it is my guru create an environment where students can excel. I think Ramanamurthy has also expressed the same thing, and Ravi also expressed in earlier occasions. Everyone who is associated with Professor Radhakrishna, whether students or any colleagues or whoever it is, who loves to work with him and enjoy the company. I think in last 2-3 occasions also somebody cited some examples. And over the last few decades, I think this also has been revealed by Professor Galab and others. Radhakrishna's inclusive and sensitive stewardship of CESS has been characterized by innovative ideas, strategic thinking, and most valuable is his efforts to increase the credibility and the visibility of CESS in the space of agriculture and economic policies. His career has been inspiration to the coming generations. I already told you that I have deep personal and emotional bondage with him, and I am proud to say I'm one of the students nourished by him. I must, in this occasion, I must profusely thank Professor D. Narasimha Reddy, who insisted me that I should work under Professor Radhakrishna only for my PhD. People suggest his name and some other's name, but don't accept. You must work with him. I know why I am telling, and you should realize afterwards. That was the so I must profusely thank Narasimha Reddy Garu for advising me to have such a wonderful guru. My deepest condolences to Vamsi and Akhila, and may his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Pujita Reddy. Now I request Rokkam Akhila and Rokkam Vamshi to respond. Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my brother is traveling, so he was unable to join. He was traveling back to, yeah.
Nice
So,
to see you.
yeah. I just want to say thank you all. Thank you for your very kind words in honor of my father. Your words bring a lot of comfort to my family and me during this very difficult time. My dad was a very unassuming and very understated man. He was so unassuming that most of our family also was very unaware of how remarkable his body of work is and how deeply respected he is in the field of economics. Just hearing you all talk about him and speak so respectfully about him and in such high regard and celebrate him and his work brings us all a lot of joy and happiness. He led a very simple life, and a very simple and noble life, like full of humility and no interest in material wealth or recognition, no interest in anything else other than his research work. It's a very rare combination to find in a person, especially in these times, to have that combination of wisdom and that body of work while still having that humbleness and humility. It's the kind of life that I want my children to look up to. He's the kind of role model that I want my children to look up to. And I want them to inherit from him, not just his wisdom, like everybody hopes that, the family inherits his wisdom, but I hope for my children to inherit his kindness, his generosity, and his humility, which was so personal. Like he was this person that was just so humble. I also think he was a very lucky man to find what he loved doing and to do it so passionately. And he was blessed to be able to do it until the very end. I will miss him immensely, but I take comfort in the fact that he was so deeply loved and so widely respected. And just the fact that he led this incredible life. I also take comfort in the fact that his legacy will live on. And it's not just through us, his family, but his legacy will live on through his work and through the many institutions that he has built and nurtured. Especially it will live on through CESS and through IDS. And a true tribute to him is the great work that will come out of these institutes. I just want to say thank you for organizing this meet. I really wish that his great soul will rest in peace and he reunites with his beloved Rani, my mother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akhila. I think Dr. Arjun Kumar can take over, or IMPRI can take over.
Ma'am, if you'd like to add a few words.
Yeah. Okay. I thank all the participants and particularly the speakers who have talked about Professor Radhakrishna. And to begin with, I think I have to thank IMPRI for bringing all of us together, and also a large number of other participants to sort of make them remember Professor Radhakrishna and make a number of academicians to follow his legacy. I thank all the participants and particularly the speakers who have taken trouble despite all the busy schedules that they have to come and speak about Professor Radhakrishna. And all of us, of course, have overwhelmed with grief because of his sad and sudden demise. But at the same time, I thank all of you. And also I thank all the participants who have come to this meeting and who have made this this gathering useful. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Sridevi, ma'am, would you like to add anything?
Pardon?
Would you like to add?
I just want to join with Professor Vepa in thanking all the speakers and organizing this event, especially IMPRI, and bringing together all the family members and his own students and then the scholars to know his contributions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much, ma'am. So now let me propose the official vote of thanks to all of you. Thank you for joining us today for this condolence meeting, hashtag in memoriam, remembering Professor R. Radhakrishna. And he was really an eminent economist, academician of international repute. As a very young organization, he also even personally guided me in last few years also to on many different issues also. He has many a times suggested to have Professor Vepa. She has also participated in so much lively discussion of our platform also. So thank you very much. Once again, I would like to thank all of our speakers on behalf of our institute, IMPRI, Professor S. Mahendra Dev, Professor R. S. Deshpande, Professor R. B. Ravnamurthy, Professor K. Krishna, Professor S. Galab, Professor C. Ravi, Dr. D. Subbarao, Professor E. Revthi, Professor P. Prudhikar Reddy, and of course, our moderators, Professor Swarna Vepa and Dr. Gumadi Sridevi. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our deepest condolences to Rokkam Akhila and Rokkam Vamshi. And with that, we hope that may his soul rest in peace. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a good evening. Thank you.